effectiveness because of the fast and accurate enrollments that we do. If you come to an NIA office, take away the number of people you come and meet when you get to the office, but take it from when you actually served, from the minute you sit before registration. That's it. I don't know to say anything about it. You come and say, hey, we come from, and you tell you ask to do that, and so that's it. So no time to be interested. Book your appointment, and go to the time you get admissions, and go to the appointments. So you don't have to come and wait 10 to listen. So that's not the benefits. So I described what I said, there's something to use. So we said that we check on our website, so they don't have access to it. And some people registration for all transactions. Only financial transactions do Ghana. You are to advise of everything. On the registration activities that NIA undertakes, one of them would be the registration of children aged 0 to 5. Now, the law says that we must register all Ghanaians from age 0. So, as I said, we started with age 15. We have registered 18.1 million. We are moving to 6 to 14, and the average number is about 7.8 million children in that age bracket who are Ghanaian. So we will be moving to register them. Then we'll move to 0 to 5. So in March of this year, the Vice President actually piloted the registration exercise for 0 to 5 years. Now, internationally, you know that children who are aged between 0 and 6 do not have their biometrics perfectly formed. So if you want to pick the fingerprints of the child, you might not get accurate records. So what we are doing is that between the age of 0 and 5, the child can be registered, but the child's identity is tied to that of the parent that registers the child. So the parent has a Ghana card, brings their child to a health center or a birthing center, maybe to weigh them or to go through a certain health service. And when they get there, the mother or the father who presents the child is verified biometrically. Then the child's details are picked with the help of the Ghana Health Service that has collected that data. And then also the Births and Deaths Registry, which has also provided a unique birth certificate number for that child. So those two identities are now tied to the parent of the child until the child is 6 years old. So we will generate a unique number for the child, the Ghana card number for the child, but the child will not be issued a physical card until they turn 6 years. And then once they are 6 years old, we can now take their picture and we can pick their biometrics and we'll issue physical cards to those children. So that is something that we have piloted, and it is work that is ongoing. It's in progress since March 2014 of this year. 2024, 14th March of this year. And why do we do this? Specifically because of the SDG goals, Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, where and it is goal 16.9, which requires us to have legal identity for all persons by 2030. Ghana has set the pace. We are in 2024, and if you look at the size of our population, we are almost there when it comes to registration. But specifically for registration of children, what do we do? You don't want a situation where someone takes someone's child trafficking is on the rise, all the things that are negative or negatively impact identity if you fail to identify children. And NIA is, by virtue of its mandate and in support of the global health initiatives under the SDG goals, working hard to register children and help in the development of these houses. So what are NISS? NISS will be no continuation of registration of what I said. There are people 10, 15 by the day, and they are registering up to 15%. Also, registering California super residents is something that we continue doing. We are registering refugees in Ghana, registering 614. Now we are going to register Ghanaians abroad so that we can close the cycle of registration. And then finally, I actually announced the Ghanaian detention with the Ghana Business Service working with them. And then also people in mental homes, psychiatric homes, and also in other places of confinement and detention. We intend to register them. Thank you very much.
Before we continue with our sessions, before we are on please how we can the district house of the should give us space of privacy. I also want to have people between president, vice president, sitting there and one of our leaders, I'm actually decided please have our leaders from that marketing. Also, the president of the Ghanaian Students Association and originally we want to be passing the myself. Please help us in Ghana because children. So we want to have a project here. Yeah.
They're here.
Welcome to the National Certification Authority. Your check is obtained by copy and see it. Let's check to see if you have everything you need to register your contract.
Certificate issued by the government of Ghana, a certificate of applied citizenship, or a naturalization document issued by the Ministry for Interior Ghana. However, if you do not have any of these documents, you can enable the vouching process.
Great! Now that you know what you need, let's get started with your application. Visit the web portal by typing register.nia.gh in your browser. Read the guidelines and agree to the terms by ticking the checkbox and click Next. Type in your preferred password in the fields provided. Click on the checkbox to pass the reCAPTCHA. Click on Start Application to begin the process. Then select the Ghanaian button. In the Select Applicant Type section next, select the first issuance. Fill in the blank fields with your name and other required information. Then save the progress and move to the next section of the application process. In the Verification Documents section, fill out your details and upload the necessary documents. Input your contact information and select the Save and Continue button to preview and confirm that all the registration details submitted are correct. Check the box next to Declaration to approve. Click Submit Application to submit the form and make payment. Click on the Book Interview button to schedule a virtual interview to review your application request, and click on Book from the pop-up menu to finalize the booking process. Click on Return Home to go back to the booking action page. You will receive an email containing the link and details to the virtual interview, and proceed to join the interview by clicking on the link. At the end of the interview, you will receive an email containing an encrypted QR code with your application data embedded. Proceed to schedule a date for your in-person biometric capture. Submit the QR code to the registration agent at the Ghana Mission for your biometric capture.
The officer captures your fingerprint, facial, and digital signature. Your card will then be issued to you after your data has been reconfirmed. It is that simple.
The process was smooth and stress-free. Get your Ghana card now.
For more information, visit the NIA website at nia.gov.gh.
They're here?
I think it's done, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, media team. Okay, so you are first. Light, please. Light.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I want to applaud you for the presentation. As I was coming, I was listening to it in the YouTube, so I thank the technical team to also making it available for those who are unable to come. It's really, really important that you are here, and I just want to thank you. I have 2 questions that I want to ask. Several of questions, but I'll turn it to 2 because we have a lot of people here who will be asking questions. First of all, I have a Ghana card because I was in Ghana in 2022 and I was able to get a Ghana card at your head office, which is good. I got it the same day. But I saw a lot of Ghanaians queuing at that place. So I would say it was a privilege for me to get it that same day. But a lot of Ghanaians that I got to meet on that day, they sat there, some went back home, they came back, and my own brother who lives in Kaswa had registered for the Ghana card 1 year before I went there. At that time, he still has not received his card. When I asked him, he said anytime he goes to the office, he says the card to print was not available. so he didn't have his Ghana card. But most importantly, when I got my Ghana card, I went to MTN to get a chip for my phone. So when I went in there, the lady took a cell phone and was scanning the Ghana card, asked me for my Ghana card, was scanning it. And I was glad when you said there's an integration with some other organizations in the country, which is really good. So then I asked the lady, do you know where this data you are getting from my card is going? And then he said, no, I don't know anything. And I said, okay. Then I will wait. When I get an opportunity to see some of you, I will ask you, because data security is very important. And we want to make sure that the data that you are getting from Ghanaians is not ending up in China somewhere, where people will be using the data for nefarious activities. Okay, that defeats the purpose. So we want to make sure which servers at NIA using, where are they located? Are they in Ghana? Are they located abroad? What is the security measures for the Ghana card? That's the first question. So, and I think a lot of people are basically want to know about the security of our data, right? So that's really important. And I think the second question is, do you foresee yourself and birth and death registration working together as one team instead of separate departments? Could there a way, now that you've been mandated to be registering children who are 0 years up until whatever, is there a possibility of that, those two institutions coming together as one? Because it makes efficiency for you to work together, it reduces resources, because one of the problems Ghana has is a duplication of services. We want to be able to make sure services are aligned properly and also reduce costs. So that's my questions. Thank you.
We please, with all due respect, please make your question a little bit shorter, so we'll be able to leave here fast, please.
Prof, do you want to respond to that, or you want them to take this? You take the question. You take the questions. Yes. You take the question.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Thank you so much for the presentation. You clarified a lot of questions that I had personally. And one of the questions I had was what the gentleman asked. I wanted to know how I could be assured that my data was protected. Data security and integrity is very important. So if you are capturing my data, I want to make sure that it is in the hands of a government that can ensure that there is no breach. I wouldn't want to know that something of that nature is being hosted by India or China. So that question was asked, I wouldn't repeat it. But the second question I do have has to do with the issue of flashing out scams and fraud in the system. Based on what I have learned, one of the reasons for these Ghana card has to do with combating frauds and then scammers from acquisition of Ghanaian identity. Now, when you look at some of the documents that we need to use to prove that we are Ghanaians and that we have the right or the privilege to acquire this card, it has to do with either your birth cert or passport. Now, if we say that some of these, identity cards, something like passport, has been acquired by foreigners fraudulently, how are we to ensure that such people don't use these same documents to get our Ghana cards? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Just two short questions. The first one is related to the cost. I would really appreciate clarification on whether the Ghana card costs nothing to Ghanaians. I got mine in 2021, and I know I did pay for it in Accra. I went to the national office, so if there is still, I did pay. Yes, so I know there is still some $250 cedis if I do remember. Yeah, so I just want us to be clear whether there is a cost to it or not. That's one. The second one is, you did talk about the 10-year, the card is valid for 10 years. So what happens after 10 years? Do you have to go back and get biometrics taken, or do you just get a straight renewal of the card? And I think that has a lot to also do with the minors that we are talking about, because their biometrics and things change over time, and whether they will need to update their biometrics before their cards are renewed. Thank you very much.
You want to have something further?
Thank you all very much for these very interesting questions, very important. With your permission, I'd like to begin from the bottom. The last question about the 10-year life cycle and when it's over, what next? In answering these questions, I'll be assisted by IMS, specifically by Mr. Emmanuel Selby and Mr. James Kankaman Kumson from IMS, the technical partners. And then on the NIA side, by Dr. Bernard Buma, Head of Operations, Joycelyn Na Ashon-Nate, Head of Policy, Planning, Monitoring, and Evaluation. I'm saying this because some of you just joined us, for the record. And she's also actuarial analyst for the NIA. Then Theresa Son Benjamin, who is Executive Assistant to the Executive Secretary and also Head Legal. And finally, by Martha Kasai Pasoranti, Deputy Head Finance. Now, the card is valid for 10 years. When you go back to, when it's 10 years, the card life cycle is 10 years. So after 10 years, it will begin to be brittle, the laminates will begin to peel off, the related partners will get impacted. I'll still be going to any details that you might think relevant on that point. But the short answer is yes, you will go for a replacement, and at minimum, your photograph will be taken, which is part of your biometrics. The question of payment. Now, NIA has 276 operational district offices, including some, the Central Kofi, Lipe, and Lolobe area. These district offices are co-terminals, as the chairman said. They are co-terminals of the constituencies in Ghana. Districts are less, I think 261 or 65, thereabouts. Then if you go to any of these offices, district offices, or any of our 16 regional offices, for the first time that you apply for the Ghana card, it is free of cost. But in addition to these offices, we have established 10 premium registration centers. Now, the NIA head office, where you got your cards there, it's a premium registration center, but it is not enabled to be so. People don't make appointments, don't do what they are supposed to do. People mass up at the gate. If you get there at 8 a.m. or sometimes, you have about 1,000 people who are there. You are bound to serve them. So we have tried to be responsive and accommodate the situation by putting up tents. And when it rains, it's a difficult situation. That's not what we would want. But the massing up does not enable premium service to be provided in that sense. And that's what Teresa was saying. If you were the first applicant there, it will take you a maximum of 45 minutes. But if you come up, you come and there are 1,000 people, it may never even reach your turn. But if you get to it, you would have been frustrated for a long time. On the question of payment, you have come to a premium service center, so you will pay, regardless of the fact that it took you 3 hours to get to an official. The service there is premium. If you go to Lankantanan Madina or Adenta or any of the 30 or more district offices in the Greater Accra region, you will not pay a fathom for the service you get. If you go to any of our offices across the country, which are not premium offices, there are no fees. The use of questionable passports. If the passport itself was acquired fraudulently, as the law says, or as we say in law, fraud unravels everything. So if we know that the passport was acquired fraudulently, we will not rely on it. Our staff have been trained by the passport office to identify fraudulent passports from genuine ones. Our staff have also been trained to be good interrogators. And so even though on the face of it, the presentation of a valid passport, by which we mean it is a passport with which you can travel, it has not expired. Such a passport, when you present it, we are on the face of it, prima facie is valid, and we have to rely on it. But our officers will interrogate you, and if they come to the conclusion that despite the presentations on the card, your answers indicate that you are not a Ghanaian, then we will not register you. We have a police CID, a criminal investigations department, attached to the head office. We refer people whose claims are problematic to the police. Upon further interrogation, they send people to courts and charge them with the appropriate offenses, and they are prosecuted. The cats for destruction and so if we have been to the it's not any. We want to do that. That's the expression. There are no there is some there are no probably that's what is clearly and necessary that they are all just not just in hospitals and also other places to the and that's excellent. Will continue. There is every to collaborate as we one is there. The should be handled to us the best and I highlighted that we have very high level encryption on that that is embedded on the card. We have public key infrastructure on it, and lots of and we know the biometrics that are taken. And I said that it is impregnable to the extent that technology exists today. It meets the highest ICAO standards, the global standards. It meets ICAO standards and NIST, National Institute standards. Mr. Emmanuel Selby will help get into that. But I also talked about the contact and contactless facility embedded on the card with 256 memory chip. What I talked about is the portion of the chip that is actually used, which is the 148. So the it will go through somebody's hosting, some other network hosting, before it hits Ghana and return. So if there is a challenge with any of those, then, and this is a global issue, it is not a Ghana specific or NIA specific. But as Teresa pointed out, within 45 minutes, all things being equal, a maximum of 45 minutes, anyone can get their cards. In your case, we anticipate Canada. We anticipate there will be lesser, if any, challenges in that regard at all. There is a genuine issue about lack of blank cards at some of our offices. And so when you go to the head office, you get your card, or a premium center, you get your card. But when you go to any of the other places, when there is a shortage of blank cards, You might recall that last year, NIA was summoned by Parliament to go before it and explain why so many people had not had their cards. And it was largely because there was a shortage of blank cards due to financial obligations NIA owed to the private partner and to the banks. And when the Parliament got a Minister for Finance to commit and to make money available to NIA, and some of the bills were paid off, about 546,000 cards were released to NIA, and we printed cards and distributed them across the country. So yes, in some cases, lack of blank cards have been the issue. And that also explains the portion of the delays that you said you encountered. It is true you encountered delays. And again, I say that if you go to head office, there are a lot more queues there than any other places, even though those other places may be equipped with blank cards. Somehow people prefer to come to the head office. So it boggles the mind, actually, that just across at another office, there is no queue and there are cards, but people will queue at head office. I leave it to my colleagues to pick up any of the questions that you want to comment on. But perhaps the technical one first, Mrs. Silva. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. I'd like to say that none of the data of any of the individuals is stored anywhere in the cloud. All the servers are located in Ghana. We are not storing a single data in the cloud. We're using virtual private networks between the registration centers and the NIA site. We have the primary site at the NIA head office, and we have a disaster recovery site in Kumasi, where these data, we're doing real-time synchronization between the primary site and the secondary site. So please be rest assured, no data of yours is sitting anywhere in any cloud, anywhere in the world. All the data goes directly to a site in there. That's what we're using.
Like the MTN scanning the data from the where do you know?
Okay, so what happened is this: for every service provider that utilizes NIA's services, you are entitled to a certain amount of data. So when if MTN is an institution, is entitled to have just your name and just some particular data, NIA does not have access to. So MTN does not have access to your full set of data. It's only what the law mandates them to have. That is the only subset of data they will get. Even when they get that data, your biometrics is not part of the data that goes to them. It's only the subset of the data that legally they are entitled to. That is what it will be exchanged with them. So that is what happens. So please rest assured, your biometrics do not go to the to MTN. The biometric stays only with NIA. Now,
can I follow up on this? Okay, because it is important. When we did the SIM registration, the telcos collected our biometric data. What was the point of that? You already had the biometric data with NIA. We submitted our Ghana card. So what was the point of collecting that data? And where did that data go?
I will let the Prof answer.
Well, I think the best person to answer that is the National Communications Authority. I'm sorry, I mean the institution. The name you mentioned is the name of the Minister for, okay, Minister for Communications and Digitalization. For us, our duty is done when we collect your your data, and we secure the data, and we share it with those persons and institutions qualified by law to receive them. We've done that with NHIA, with SNIT, with GRA, and it has been seamless and no controversy, no difficulty, no problem at all with any of those. And we remain capable of doing that with the with the telcos for purposes of SIM card re-registration and all of that. In fairness to National Communications Authority, what I understand is that they have instituted a process to enable them capture data and secure the SIM cards, the data and the SIM card synchronization. That is their field. It is different from ours. They can use ours anytime that they are ready to. All the other institutions have been able to use our data. You are also at liberty to ask them when you get the opportunity. But from our perspective, that is the
I know a little bit about what's going on between the two ministries.
Actually, for us, there's nothing going on. We just think that our data can be used.
Yeah, but there was a good reason why they didn't use it, right? Because there was a bit of. Let's put it. Let's end it here.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Any?
Yeah. Well, yes, I have questions.
Sorry. There was a question on passport. Sure.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I think on the issue of passports, and if you are, I think Prof has already answered that question. On if you acquire a document fraudulently and you come to the National Education Authority using that fraudulently acquired document to acquire a Ghana card, because at NIA the law requires us to use those primary documents, we have been trained to, at least on the face of it, take a look at the features of a passport and see whether it's a genuine passport. What you must remember is that somebody can have a genuine passport in their hand, but the individual who has it may not be entitled to that particular document. So the document in itself is valid in terms of what it has, that it is just the individual behind it that does not have to have that document. But NIA's process includes interviews. So you are interviewing the applicants before you, notwithstanding the documentation they provide. Because sometimes the information people provide clashes with the documents they provide. So our officers are trained, and that is some of the things that we are doing with the Ghana Mission office in Ottawa and other parts of the world, that they also go through a process which allows them to question you beyond the documents that you present, so that at the end of the day, we are certain that at least we have done a thorough job and the people who are going to the register are who they must be. But it doesn't take away the fact that if you discover, say, your neighbor, who you know to be a non-Ghanaian, is in possession of a Ghana card, the law allows you to report. One, you can report to NIA. NIA goes into an investigative mode and then investigates it. Alternatively, you can report it to the police. So for instance, there are people who have been reported to the police and have gone through investigations. The Ghana Immigration Service does the same on behalf of the Immigration Service, and they notify NIA as well. And then we also take up our administrative duty of going through investigations. And there are people whose cards have taken away. There are people who have been deported because we have gone through the entire process and they have been prosecuted as holding documentation that they ought not to hold, including the Ghana card. So I think in terms of how we check who comes onto our database. Every individual, every Ghanaian has a responsibility to sort of prevent others from coming in. So you must guard the entry point. And there are people who have assisted, and they are Ghanaian, who have assisted non-Ghanaians to be vouched for. They know the person is not a Ghanaian, and they come and say, this person is my relative. And what we do is that we sometimes separate the applicant from the person who's vouching for them. And through investigation, interrogation rather, you come to find that the person does not know the applicant at all. But I don't know why they are encouraging people to get onto the register. If you come to other parts of the world, every country guards the doors of entry, the entry into their national database. And it must be the same for Ghanaians, that you would guard the entry, because other people will not do it for you. So why do it for other people? Thank you very much.
I think the cost of it was asked. How much?
Yeah, the one here in Ottawa. The cost. Let's bring it home here.
Okay, so the cost components are two. When you come to a premium center at NI, there's a fee. That's as well.
Yeah,
very well. I'm just giving. In fairness to the person who asked the question.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. So when I'm bringing it home, So when you come to Canada, the NIA, being a creature of statute, has abides by the laws that are passed by Parliament, and Parliament prescribes fees for every single registration activity that we undertake. Now, for people who live abroad, so if you live in the ECOWAS region of Africa, the law says that you will pay 55 United States dollars. So it's the equivalent of 55 United States dollars to get a Ghana card. So if you live in, say, La Côte d'Ivoire, and you pay SAFA, you might pay SAFA, but it will be equivalent to 55 United States dollars. If you live in the rest of Africa, outside the ECOWAS region, the law requires you to pay 75 United States dollars equivalent. If you live in Europe, in the Americas, Northern, Southern America, Asia, any part of the world, you pay 110 United States dollars for the Ghana, 115, my bad, 115 United States dollars for the Ghana card, which is a card that is valid for 10 years. So that is what the cost is. Thank you very much.
There's something about the data.
Okay, guys, let's bring our voices down, please. If you don't have the mic, please don't speak.
I'm glad I queued for 3 days 4 years ago and got my Ghana card. I don't have to pay $10. I'm a bit concerned about all the verifications that have to be done when somebody is doing a transaction. Is somebody getting paid for that? I mean, when a bank, for example, verifies a card, does somebody get paid, right? Because I don't really see the point in having opened an account with my Ghana card and going there to withdraw money, asking that the bank verify that I am whom I say I am.
Okay.
Let me finish. I think I should be even able to go to the bank and use any other form of identity, show it, and withdraw my money. The same goes with paying taxes. Okay, what is the point of verifying? I'm going to give you money, and you say, oh, I want to make sure that your biometric is in the database before I let you pay me money. That's my first question.
So,
can you ask the second question?
You have a second question? I think.
Yes, I have a second question. There's been a lot of talk about, well, I've heard some politicians say, oh, your Ghana card number is going to be your TIN number. I have a TIN number. What exactly do they mean? And they also say, oh, your Ghana card is going to be your social insurance number. does that mean, are they saying that that number on the card is going to replace all those numbers, or is just a way of saying that you are going to link your social insurance number to the Ghana card number? They are two different things.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, thank you for the questions. The question on why verification surprises me a little bit, but the answer is this. One of the major problems we have faced as a country for a very long time is the issue of fraud in the banking sector, in land acquisition, in virtually every area of our social and economic life. The Parliament of Ghana has deemed it fit to pass a law that says for about 17 forms of transactions in our country, anyone seeking to engage in them must present the Ghana card. Banking transactions is one of those 17 areas of social engagement. And it says, when you are opening an account or transacting a banking business, including withdrawing your money, they want to be sure that you are who you say you are. Yes, I appreciate your passion, but the point is also that, sir, somebody just asked a question about the fraudulent acquisition of passports. We have talked about fraudulent acquisition of Ghana card, but we are aiming at creating a single source of truth in identity management in our country, so that when you go to the passport office, your name and your identity there will be the same as when you go to the DVLA, the Driver and Vehicle License Authority. There are people with different names, same biometrics, but different names at passport office and DVLA, Social Security, and what have you. So we are saying, let us have one person. If you say you are Kenneth Ajimai Atefa, you must be so at all of these other state institutions that have data, not different permutations of your three names. For the bank, and I gave the example before your arrival here, I gave the example of one. You were here? All right. Oh, okay, excellent. Thank you. But you recall then that I gave the example of one of our universal banks that transacted business by just photocopying a card, doing an ocular inspection, and yet was presented with a card and said the person $162,000 was lost. CD, was lost, and it was because there had not been verification. We've created a system that allows you to be verified within 300th of a second. It doesn't waste your time. It costs you nothing, but it ensures your security. If you elect not to be verified, the bank cannot and will not serve you. If they elect to serve you, they do so in violation of the law, and they also do so at their own risk and perhaps yours. But if you want that situation changed, obviously it lies with legal advocacy to get that situation altered. We are implementing a law. And since 2022, I believe, it has and payment on my card, and I don't present those states in next then from the numbers, the card becomes a social security number. The moment it has given slate. So your slate number, your external card number, is slate number. Your health insurance number is your insurance number. your PIN on your Ghana card is also your tax identification number. So moving forward, everyone registers for a Ghana card automatically has a tax identification number. And if the person is at their age not in the tax bracket, the more the person crosses that middle age barrier and becomes a taxable person, that person has a tax number. When you are filling a form, that requires you to have to indicate your tax number. Your Ghana card number is your tax number, whether you know it or not. So that is the identification tool, and it's your number for all of these sundry services that are provided by the state. From all that I've heard so far, Ghanaians are happy with the integration and harmonization that's gone on. I have personally the first time I've heard a concern being expressed, and we'll be able to tease out the concerns a little further later on to understand what is behind it. It's going to be present for now. The fact of the matter is that the state has prescribed these are the decisions of Parliament that are being implemented through the National Identification Authority. Thank you very much.
Now, if you look for I guess the original organizations, and that's the example that I will give you. So that's what. So what the reason from you have to think about the amount of data that is not possibly the system until the was not created. If you really choose them for your transaction, and I say that you're using yourself like this. I'm looking for the data systems who put you on their transaction and will actually insist on the verification. I am not going to that. Now the example that I will give you, that transaction was done on $162, but because somebody else inspection, they had a put call of that, and you put another check. You won't wait that could not happen. It's if I'm there, I'm finished. The reason why I have paid that, that's not true. The person was able to contact that transaction. The only thing that happens from there, I'm not finished. I give consent, there's not showing that I was there, I'm James Cameron Cruz and I will get. Give you an example. My son raised money, he doesn't James Cameron Cruz. The only differentiation is something my friends are asking
So let's problem solve. What would be helpful? Excuse me, we can accurate. What would be helpful? Where if you were to identify a specific problem with the national education system or with the Ghana card project as well as and then to prefer an alternative, then we can think about that as a solution. For now, for today, what we accurate to it's not it's not to present decisions of cabinet, which no. So the focus that we want is how to ensure that the piloting the registration for a Ghana card for Ghanaians in the rest of Canada would be and process would be understood and would be embraced by those who want to get a Ghana card while they are here in Ghana. That's our mission. And if we can concentrate more on that, I think we will be very happy.